What's up, guys? My favorite seller of carbonized cork, this awesome, beautiful material. Got it back in stock. So I ordered 4 panels. These are 3 feet by 1 feet by 2 inches thick. Perfect. This is one of my favorite background materials, period. A lot of us use this, or not a lot of us, a small portion of us use this because a lot of people just don't know about it. But you can either break off pieces down the middle. You can see that used to be that 2-inch panel. But whenever you break stuff off, it's pretty challenging. But you get this beautiful textured surface, effortlessly textured. And then the back is nice, perfectly flat for siliconing up against the wall. And this is extremely porous, really good for plants. The other way a lot of people will use this is they'll silicone a whole panel, like a full panel like this, onto a wall, and they'll just very slowly carve away at it. And you'll get this very detailed texture, and it's awesome. I usually go for the smaller chunks method, but now that I have so much, I may try the other method, but we'll see. But I've been putting off working on this tank because I didn't have a lot of this left. I have like a gallon bag of like crumbs. And there is stuff that you can do with that. You can use like the traditional method where you smear silicone and then press that in. That's what I'm going to be doing on some of the foam and stuff. But right now I'm just trying to figure out the next step for this tank. I tend to have trouble with big terrariums like this. Aquascaping has always been a lot easier to me, but with reptiles and herps, I've talked about this before, you're not just trying to build something that's aesthetically pleasing like with fish. You make something look good, you give them clean water, you give them a little bit of cover, they're fine. Reptiles have very specific heating and lighting and care requirements. Some of them are cryptic species, you have to give them enough cover, and it's a fine balance of trying to make it look good but also giving them the care that they need. So like I've talked about, parts of this hardscape are not how I would want them. Like if I was purely setting it up for an artistic point of view, but I had to set them up a certain way because the animals need it. So it's like a creative block. It's hard for me to finish these projects. I get stuck very often. And normally my methodology is, so normally my technique is to fill in the largest pieces first and then work around that. I've done that to an extent, but I still have all of this to work with, all of this driftwood. And I'd like to use some of it, at least, to fill in all of these gaps through here, all the places between here, and tie all of this together, but it's hard to visualize. So I think what I'm going to do is the opposite of what I normally do, and I'm going to do the small things first, the smallest portion first. Or not first, but I've already done all that hardscape, but next. So what I'm going to do is go into all the hard to reach places. I'm going to go into the nooks and crannies, stuff like this. Anywhere there's exposed foam. Stuff like this, like these edges that need to be, very clearly need to be covered up. I want to cover those up before I have too much in there to cover them up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this, probably, some of these bigger chunks. You can see I've already made a bunch of tiny chunks, and then I've also got this gallon bag of crumbs from past projects. I'm just going to start siliconing into all these nooks and crannies and gaps and stuff, and pressing this stuff into that place to start covering up all this foam and start filling in this whole thing to start making it look more cohesive, so it's easier for me to fill in these gaps. Because right now I'm just having trouble visualizing. The foam is very bright and loud, and I hate it. So we're going to try to make this a little bit easier to work on. And here is where we've ended up with this enclosure. You can see all of this carbonized cork has been put over where the foam was, all those little gaps and stuff. I added this little piece, still have to fill in the rest of the background somehow. It's going to be a combination of cork flats like this, you know, we're going to be sticking something like that, and then filling the rest of the void with pieces of driftwood and more of this carbonized cork. Alright, it's the next day, and while we've got sunlight, I'm going to be working on the greenhouse. As you can see behind me, there's a big opening right there. We have to put doors there. So I'm building the aluminum polycarbonate doors now, and then we'll throw those in. And then I want to try to get the inside of this all painted black today to sort of seal off the wood and help it last a little bit longer. I've got one door done. All wrapped up, glued together, and I'm working on the other one. So we're almost done with what we need to do before we can start painting and stuff. But I just need to silicone these last few panels in place, and then we can throw the doors in and mount the rest of the brackets to secure the greenhouse to the actual walls. Then we can paint. Alright, I've got the doors in right here. They do open and close, but they're a little bit kind of tight in there, just because the fitting of this greenhouse the fitment isn't incredible. It's one of the cheaper greenhouses you can buy, so some of the times you have to kind of hit stuff with hammers. But it's time to start painting, so time lapse. All right, so I'm gonna go buy a new roller and then work on this tomorrow. But we got one wall pretty much done. We've got the majority of this thing painted. I ran out of paint. But that's gonna be it for this video. I don't want it to drag on for too long, and I'm trying to post more, so I can't make too many long videos. I prefer to make shorter ones. Up next, I'm going to be doing the lighting and finishing up the background on this one, and then hopefully planting it. I'll probably end up waiting to plant it because I've got to order soil and all that kind of stuff. But we will be wrapping up the background in the next video, most likely. And then as for the greenhouse, since I've got those two walls painted, the back and the side, I can start to actually move things in, like the 275-gallon stock tank. That's going to be for rainwater, and it's also going to feed the misting system for the greenhouse. That's how I'm planning on cooling the greenhouse during the winter. Shade cloth and misting system and just good ventilation. The black paint is for heating. That's specifically why I'm doing that. During the colder months, the sun will hit those walls and they'll absorb all that heat. And it should reduce the cost of me heating that during the winter. It's already going to be, you know, a lot, but hopefully we can reduce that as much as we can with passive heating systems. But yeah, I can move that in. I need to move the 300-gallon pond in. Once those are in, I can start moving the trees in. And then other than that, we've got to do stuff like circulation fans. We've got to do the actual misting system. We've got to do siliconing all of the little gaps and cracks. I've got to do the front doors, which are a big one. I've got to insulate the walls, and I've got to put siding on the walls. And I have to get an exhaust fan. But other than that, there's really not that much left to do with the greenhouse. That's a lot of stuff, though. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see that stuff, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can see it when that happens. And hopefully I'll see you guys next time.